The 1990s were a golden era for Microsoft. Windows had become the dominant operating system, and the company, led by Bill Gates, was the most powerful force in the technology industry. But with great power comes great scrutiny. By the end of the decade, Microsoft found itself in the middle of a massive legal battle with the U.S. government, accused of monopolistic practices that threatened competition and innovation. This is the story of the Microsoft antitrust case, how it started, the courtroom drama, and the consequences that shaped the future of the tech world. To understand the antitrust case, we need to go back to the early 1990s. By this time, Microsoft had already established itself as the leader in personal computing. The company's operating system, Windows, was running on more than 90% of personal computers worldwide. Before Windows, computers used text-based operating systems like MS-DOS, which required users to type commands. Windows changed everything by introducing a graphical user interface, making computers accessible to the masses. This shift dramatically increased the adoption of personal computers in both homes and businesses, helping Microsoft solidify its position as the dominant force in computing. Microsoft didn't just dominate the operating system market. It had also entered the software business with products like Microsoft Office, which included applications such as Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. These programs became essential tools for businesses, students, and professionals, further embedding Microsoft into daily life. By bundling its applications with Windows, Microsoft was able to crush competitors in both the OS and software markets, giving users fewer reasons to seek alternative solutions. At the same time, Microsoft aggressively pursued agreements with computer manufacturers. PC makers like Dell, Compaq, and IBM were incentivized to pre-install Windows on their machines, ensuring that Microsoft's OS remained the standard across the industry. This strategy made it difficult for alternative operating systems, such as Apple's Mac OS or Linux distributions, to gain a foothold in the market. Microsoft also leveraged its dominance to control software development. By making its development tools and frameworks widely available but optimized for Windows, Microsoft created an ecosystem where third-party developers were encouraged to build applications that worked best on Windows. This locked developers and businesses into Microsoft's ecosystem, further entrenching its control over the industry. But while Microsoft was celebrating its dominance, a new threat was emerging: the Internet. As the Internet boom took off in the mid-1990s, Microsoft initially underestimated its importance. However, once Bill Gates recognized its potential to reshape the computing landscape, the company quickly pivoted, setting the stage for its most controversial business tactics yet. By the mid-1990s, the Internet was revolutionizing the way people accessed information. Web browsers like Netscape Navigator were leading the charge, allowing users to explore the web with ease. At first, Microsoft underestimated the Internet's potential. But when Bill Gates realized its significance, Microsoft moved aggressively to take control. The company launched Internet Explorer in 1995 and quickly bundled it with Windows, making it the default browser on millions of PCs. This strategic decision allowed Microsoft to leverage its operating system monopoly to dominate the growing web browser market. This move crushed Netscape, which had to convince users to manually install its browser. Since most consumers were unfamiliar with installing software separately, Internet Explorer quickly became the most widely used browser by default. Netscape, once a leader in the industry, struggled to maintain relevance. Microsoft's bundling tactics made it nearly impossible for competing browsers to gain traction. The impact of this move extended beyond browsers. By controlling access to the Internet through Internet Explorer, Microsoft had the power to dictate web standards. Developers were incentivized to optimize their websites for Internet Explorer, further entrenching Microsoft's influence over the online ecosystem. Many software developers feared that Microsoft would eventually exert similar control over emerging Internet-based applications. Meanwhile, Microsoft wasn't just targeting Netscape. The company aggressively negotiated deals with Internet service providers, pushing them to make Internet Explorer the preferred or exclusive browser for their customers. This further restricted user choice and solidified Microsoft's dominance over Internet access. These aggressive tactics did not go unnoticed. Competitors and regulators saw this as a clear example of Microsoft using its monopoly power to eliminate competition. Concerns over market fairness and consumer choice grew, leading to widespread scrutiny. Many industry experts and executives argued that Microsoft's actions were stifling innovation, preventing new entrants from disrupting the market. This caught the attention of the U.S. Department of Justice, which accused Microsoft of anti-competitive behavior. The company now faced a legal battle that would determine the future of both Microsoft and the entire technology industry. In 1998, the U.S. government, along with 20 state attorneys general, filed an antitrust lawsuit against Microsoft. The case argued that Microsoft had used illegal tactics to maintain its monopoly in the operating system market and to crush competition in the browser market. The lawsuit alleged that Microsoft's bundling of Internet Explorer with Windows was an intentional strategy to eliminate competition, particularly targeting Netscape Navigator, which was the dominant web browser at the time. The trial quickly became a media sensation, drawing widespread attention from the public, journalists, and business leaders. The courtroom was packed with legal experts, economists, and software developers, all closely following what was shaping up to be one of the most significant antitrust cases in American history. Bill Gates himself was called to testify, a moment that many anticipated eagerly. However, Gates' testimony did not go well. His responses were often vague, evasive, and sometimes combative, leading to a negative perception of Microsoft's leadership. His reluctance to provide clear answers frustrated the court, and at times, he appeared to be dodging direct questions. The court even played video clips of Gates giving contradictory statements, which made Microsoft look bad. These inconsistencies were damaging, reinforcing the perception that Microsoft had knowingly engaged in unfair business practices. Legal analysts and journalists covering the trial noted that Gates' demeanor and unwillingness to cooperate likely weakened Microsoft's case. One of the most damaging pieces of evidence was an internal Microsoft email where executives discussed the need to cut off Netscape's air supply by bundling Internet Explorer with Windows. This was seen as clear intent to destroy competition. Additional internal emails and strategy documents presented during the trial further supported the claim that Microsoft had deliberately used its market power to prevent competitors from succeeding. Some emails revealed discussions about leveraging Windows to gain an unfair advantage in other emerging Internet-based markets, adding weight to the argument that Microsoft was acting as a monopolist. As the case progressed, the government brought in expert witnesses, including economists and industry analysts, to explain how Microsoft's dominance was stifling innovation and limiting consumer choice. Witnesses from rival companies described how difficult it was to compete against Microsoft when it controlled access to the operating system that nearly all personal computers ran. Public opinion was divided. Some saw Microsoft as a visionary company being unfairly targeted for its success, while others viewed it as an aggressive monopoly that needed to be restrained for the good of the industry. The trial not only impacted Microsoft's future, but also set a precedent for how governments would regulate technology companies in the years to come. After months of testimony and arguments, the judge ruled that Microsoft had indeed engaged in monopolistic practices. The court found that Microsoft had violated antitrust laws by forcing PC manufacturers to bundle Internet Explorer with Windows and by making it difficult for competitors to survive. The initial penalty was severe. Microsoft was ordered to be split into two separate companies, one for operating systems and one for software. This was one of the most drastic measures ever proposed in an antitrust case. However, Microsoft wasn't going down without a fight. Microsoft appealed the decision, and after years of legal battles, the company managed to avoid being broken up. Instead, in 2001, Microsoft agreed to a settlement that imposed restrictions on its business practices. The company was required to share more technical information with competitors and was prohibited from using its dominance to crush rivals in unfair ways. The settlement, while not as severe as a full breakup, still imposed significant oversight on Microsoft's operations. Regulators continued monitoring the company for compliance, ensuring that it adhered to the agreed-upon rules. Although Microsoft avoided being split, the case had a lasting impact on the company. It became more cautious about how it competed in the tech industry. The once dominant giant now faced a more competitive landscape, where its aggressive tactics were no longer unchecked. Microsoft had to rethink its business approach and gradually shifted its strategy towards collaboration and compliance rather than confrontation. Meanwhile, competitors like Google and Apple took advantage of Microsoft's weakened position to rise in the following years. The early 2000s saw the emergence of new tech powerhouses that capitalized on Microsoft's legal troubles. Google, with its search engine and online services, quickly became a dominant force in the internet space, an area Microsoft had struggled to control. Apple, under the leadership of Steve Jobs, introduced revolutionary products like the iPod, iPhone, and Mac OS X, shifting the tech industry's focus towards mobile computing and user-friendly design. At the same time, Microsoft had to regain trust within the industry and among consumers. The company attempted to shift its image by focusing on innovation and moving beyond the Windows Internet Explorer monopoly model. By the late 2000s, Microsoft was investing heavily in enterprise solutions, cloud computing, and gaming through its Xbox division. The settlement forced Microsoft to compete more fairly, ultimately leading to a more diverse and competitive tech industry. The case served as a warning to other tech giants about the potential consequences of monopolistic behavior. It set a precedent that would later be used in antitrust cases against companies like Google, Apple, and Facebook. Despite its legal troubles, Microsoft managed to reinvent itself and remain a key player in the technology industry, proving that even the most powerful corporations must adapt to changing market conditions and regulatory scrutiny. The Microsoft antitrust case set a precedent for how governments regulate tech giants. It highlighted the dangers of monopolistic power and made regulators more vigilant about market dominance. The case directly influenced future antitrust cases against companies like Google, Apple, and Facebook, showing that governments were willing to step in when tech companies became too powerful. This scrutiny has only intensified in recent years, with regulatory bodies worldwide keeping a close eye on big tech firms and their business practices. Additionally, the trial sparked discussions about consumer choice and digital competition. The ruling led to significant policy shifts and spurred the growth of alternative software solutions, fostering an environment where innovation could thrive. The landmark case demonstrated that unchecked monopolistic behavior could hinder technological progress, forcing companies to rethink their competitive strategies. Another lasting impact was the shift in how tech giants approached business practices. Microsoft, once known for its aggressive tactics, had to adopt a more open and cooperative approach in the years that followed. This change allowed for the development of a more diverse and competitive software industry, paving the way for new players to enter the market. The increased focus on interoperability and fair competition meant that companies had to find new ways to differentiate themselves beyond leveraging monopolistic advantages. Furthermore, the case influenced global antitrust enforcement. Governments worldwide took cues from the Microsoft case, leading to stricter regulations on technology firms in Europe, Asia, and beyond. The European Union, in particular, has been active in pursuing cases against major corporations, enforcing rules that promote fair competition in the digital market. The Microsoft antitrust case remains one of the most significant legal battles in technology history, leaving a lasting legacy on how digital markets are governed. It served as a wake-up call to tech giants that no company, no matter how influential, is immune to legal repercussions when it engages in monopolistic behavior. Following the lawsuit, Microsoft shifted its focus. Under the leadership of Satya Nadella in the 2010s, the company moved towards cloud computing, AI, and enterprise software. Products like Azure and Microsoft 365 became central to its new strategy, helping the company regain dominance in a changing tech landscape. By embracing a more service-oriented model, Microsoft diversified its offerings beyond Windows, ensuring its long-term relevance in a rapidly evolving industry. One of the major changes Microsoft implemented was its approach to open-source software. Historically, Microsoft had been resistant to open-source initiatives, but after the lawsuit, the company began embracing more collaborative models. It acquired GitHub, one of the largest open-source code repositories, and made significant contributions to Linux, a move that would have been unthinkable in the 1990s. This shift helped Microsoft rebuild trust within the developer community and align itself with modern software trends. Microsoft also made strategic acquisitions to expand its influence. The company purchased LinkedIn, strengthening its hold on professional networking and data-driven enterprise solutions. Additionally, its acquisition of Mojang, the creator of Minecraft, allowed Microsoft to tap into the gaming industry in new ways, reinforcing the success of its Xbox brand. These moves demonstrated Microsoft's ability to adapt beyond its traditional software business. While Microsoft faced setbacks from the lawsuit, it ultimately adapted and thrived. It became a leader in cloud computing with Azure, competing head-to-head with Amazon Web Services. The company's investment in artificial intelligence and automation has also positioned it at the forefront of emerging technologies. By learning from its past and focusing on innovation, Microsoft secured its place as one of the most influential tech companies in the world today. Despite its past antitrust struggles, Microsoft has maintained its market power, proving that companies can evolve and thrive even under regulatory scrutiny. The company continues to grow, ensuring its influence in both the enterprise and consumer tech sectors for years to come. The Microsoft antitrust case of the 1990s was one of the most important legal battles in the history of technology. It changed the way governments regulate big tech and forced Microsoft to rethink its strategy. Had the government successfully broken up Microsoft, the tech landscape today could look very different. But one thing is certain, the case proved that even the most powerful tech giants can be held accountable when they abuse their dominance. What do you think? Should Microsoft have been broken up, or was the settlement the right decision? Let us know in the comments.